Greetings, my young friends, and welcome back to Story Time with your Papa Palpatine. Today we have Star Wars 5-minute stories strike back. Now, I was looking through these, trying to figure out which story to read to you today, and there's one that I think will show the Empire in the beautiful, favorable light it deserves. It's called The Death Star Battle. Here's where we'll show how triumphant the Empire is with its battle station known as the Death Star. Let's begin. Not a scratch, Lando thought, as he powered up the Millennium Falcon and flew it into position. The rebellion had a chance to surprise the Empire and destroy the new Death Star before it was finished, just like they had destroyed the first Death Star years before. We don't like that story. Lando knew it would be a long, tough battle, but he had promised his friend Han Solo that he would take care of Han's ship, the Millennium Falcon. And Lando wasn't going to let his friend down again. There we go. You can see the picture very well. I think they're going to be in for a surprise when they get to the Death Star. Lando heard Admiral Akbar's voice through the comlink. "Hull crash! Prepare to jump to hyperspace!" Lando punched in the coordinates to Endor, the small forest moon near the new Death Star. He had a good co-pilot, an alien named Nine Numb, but Lando still wished his friend Han was with him. But Han Solo was on a secret mission to bring down the Death Star's shields from the forests of Endor. If he didn't succeed, Lando and the rest of the rebellion wouldn't be able to destroy the new Death Star. Oh, I'm afraid those friends will find the battle station quite operational when they arrive. Admiral Akbar commanded the fleet to advance, and as one, all the ships leapt into hyperspace. In what seemed like moments, Lando found himself right in front of the skeleton of the Death Star. He stared at it in awe. It was bigger than he could have imagined. Bigger is better most of the time, right? "All wings, report in," Lando ordered the fleet.
"Red leader standing by,"
said Wedge Antilles, adjusting his controls a little. Unlike Lando, Wedge had seen a Death Star before, and this time, Wedge planned to fire the shot that destroyed it. "We took care of that pesky exhaust port, so that's not going to happen again, so come on, Wedge." Lando prepared for their surprise attack on the new Death Star, but Nine shouted in alarm. The sensors were jammed!
"How could they be jamming us if they don't know that we're coming?"
Lando said. Suddenly he realized the rebellion had made a mistake. The Emperor, Darth Sidious, had known that they were coming all along.
"Break off the attack,"
he ordered. Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen it. Wedge checked his sensors, but there was nothing there.
"I got no reading. You sure?"
he asked Lando. Just then, an entire fleet of the Emperor's forces appeared out of nowhere. The rebel fleet was completely outnumbered. "Take evasive action!" cried Admiral Akbar from his command ship. "It's a trap!" I love when he says that. "It's a trap!" Imperial TIE fighters raced toward the rebel fleet, Firing blast after blast, Wedge and his fellow rebel X-Wing pilots zoomed past Lando to fight back. Not a scratch, Lando thought, as he maneuvered the Falcon into attack position. Just then, a huge blast came from the Death Star, destroying a rebel ship. Look at that. Pew! The Falcon rocked from the blast, and Lando looked up at the Death Star in amazement. It was still under construction. It wasn't supposed to be operational yet. All craft prepare to retreat. No, all craft prepare to retreat, Admiral Akbar ordered. The rebels didn't stand a chance now that the Death Star's powerful lasers were working. Lando knew they wouldn't get another opportunity to destroy this new Death Star. Besides, Han would deactivate the shields down on Endor. He just needed more time. Han wouldn't let them down. Lando ordered the rebel fleet to move closer to the Imperial forces. They wouldn't last long against the Star Destroyers, but Lando knew they wouldn't survive another second against the Death Star, with its shields still up. And the Death Star wouldn't fire at its own ships. Wedge flew through the Imperial fleet trying to take down as many TIE fighters as he could, but there was always another ship to fight. The Empire's forces seemed endless. Turning the page, come on. Just then, the shields of the Death Star came down. Han's mission was a success. Ha ha ha! I told you he'd do it, Lando told Nidnum. It was finally time to attack the Death Star. Here goes nothing, Lando cried. The Millennium Falcon flew through the gap in the Imperial defenses and into the Death Star. Wedge followed close behind, but the rebels weren't alone. TIE fighters raced after them, firing blast after blast. Wedge and Lando battled their way to the heart of the Death Star. There, right in front of them, was the power generator. Unlimited power. Wedge took a deep breath and fired a round at the Death Star's weak point. Lando fired after him, and then smiled in awe as the reactor exploded. What? They had done it. I don't remember this part of the story. But Lando and Wedge were still in trouble. They raced back toward the open space, but the Death Star was collapsing around them. Just before the entrance closed, Wedge and the Millennium Falcon escaped. Yee-haw! Lando cried. Behind them, the Emperor's ultimate weapon exploded. The rebel fleet had won. Now. I don't like that at all. Lando and his rebellion friends celebrated their victory on the forest moon of Endor. Lando looked everywhere until he saw his friend Han. Not a scratch, he thought, as he gave his friend a hug. Not a scratch. Well, not going to lie, that one did not go quite as well as I thought. But perhaps a different 5-minute story that strikes back will happen next time. Please join us when we read another story. Until then, long live the Empire, and the Force is with us.